We've got a quorum already and it's 4:30. I understand that the administration would like to tell us something, and then CLP would like to give us some information. All right, so I'll give the administration 5 minutes and then CLP 5 minutes. So can the clerk please jot down the names of members who raised their hands, and I think we've got quite a long list of members, so please read out the names. Tang Ka Pew, Tony Che, Sin Chong Kai, Huang Kwok Heng, Lo Wai Kwok, Jeffrey Lam, Charles Smock, Wong Ting Kwong, Yu Si Wing, Frankie Yik, and Chen Kam Lam. Right? Have we omitted anyone? Do you wish to ask some questions earlier because you need to leave early? So do we have members who would like to ask questions earlier? Mr. Cham Kam Lam, in fact, he raised his hand at a very early stage. So how many members do we have on the list? 11 members. All right, to err on the safe side, each member will have 4 minutes. The secretary, please. Yes, good afternoon, Chairman. Good afternoon, members. On the 10th of December last year, we had a meeting with panel members. And upon members' request, we have this special meeting today, and I and the two power companies will try to respond to members' queries. All right, so you don't need 5 minutes. Good. CLP, please. Yes, Chairman, I think Mr. Chang would like to elaborate on a few issues concerning the use of natural gas for power generation. Yes, thank you, Chairman. At the meeting on the 10th of December last year, members were concerned about increase in fuel costs and the supply of natural gas. And I would like to give members some more information here. In the 2014 to 2018 5-year plan, the total fuel cost will double when compared with the fuel cost in the last development plan. This is to meet the tightened emission caps in 2015 and beyond. So we need to rely more on natural gas. And with regard to the MOU on energy cooperations, West-East pipeline, the price of the gas supply will be much higher than the price of the Yachang gas supply. And also we need to make use of the best practicable means to achieve emission reduction. We need to maximize the use of existing gas-fired generation units. In other words, we should rely more on cleaner fuel. And also, we need to give priority to the use of coal-fired generation units that have been retrofitted with emission abatement equipment. In 2015, there will be a 41% increase in gas-fired generation when compared with the quantity in 2010. And CLP owns 80% of the local gas-fired generation capacity in Hong Kong, and CLP will have to shoulder about 90% of the required increase in gas generation in 2015. There was an MOU signed in 2008 between the central government and the SAR government on energy cooperation. And we are pursuing the 3 new gas supply sources in the mainland, namely the second West-East pipeline, LNG terminal in Shenzhen, and new fields in South China Sea. And with regard to second West-East pipeline, it was completed in 2012. It was in full operation in 2013. And as for the LNG terminal in Shenzhen, we, together with our partners, are doing a lot of preparation work, and we hope to submit an application to the Development and Reform Commission this year. And the new fields in South China Sea, we, together with our partner, are discussing the introduction of natural gas from offshore fields. So only the second West-East pipeline can supply gas to Hong Kong in 2015 so as to help us meet the tightened emission caps. And in fact, the pipeline is bringing gas from Central Asia to Shenzhen, then to Hong Kong. As we know, for the price of WEP2, it's higher than that of Yacheng gas supply. And also in 2012, we signed a short-term agreement with our partner concerning another field in Yacheng, Y13-4, because Y13-1 has already been depleted. And with regard to the two other sources in the MOU, these are being actively explored by CLP, but it takes time to commission these two, and we don't think they will be able to supply gas to Hong Kong before 2017. So CLP is facing challenges with regard to a tremendous increase in fuel costs. We understand the impact this will have on the net tariff on our customers, and we've taken all practicable measures to alleviate the pressure of future tariff adjustments and burden to our customers. Now, for example, we're trying to seek more supply from Yacheng so as to defer using the pricier gas supply, will increase the use of low-emission coal, and will enhance the operational performance of our generation fleet. CLP undertakes to do its best to adopt measures to try to minimize future tariff increases. Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Chen Kam Lam. Chairman, thank you. With regard to fuel cost, we are all very concerned. In recent years, tariff adjustments had to do with fuel cost increases. So concerning the fuel account, I want to know whether there will be rebates offered to customers so as to alleviate the pressure on an upward adjustment of tariffs. Now we hope that increases in tariffs can be moderate. But we can see that in the past years, there were frequent adjustments, upward adjustments to the fuel surcharge. So can you consider making adjustments or proposing adjustments in accordance with the actual increases in fuel costs? CLP. Yes, Chairman, I thank the member for the question. Now we have to rely on imported fuel, and there are serious fluctuations in the international market with regard to fuel prices. Now we have the fuel account. Now in fact it's like a piggy bank, so to speak. If necessary, we will take money out of that account in order to stabilize the expenditure for fuel. And even if there is a positive balance in the account, it doesn't mean that CLP will benefit. In fact, we will not pocket the interest. The interest will also go to our customers. And the interest is about 5% at the moment based on the premium rate. So the money will remain in the piggy bank. In 2015, as we have explained, there will be a substantial increase in our fuel costs. So CLP would like to make the most out of the positive balance in the account to mitigate future tariff increases. And we expect that there will be a substantial negative balance in the account after 2015, and that's to mitigate the overall tariff increases in 2015. So, Mr. Chan, I thank you for your suggestion. We'll see what we can do to try to improve upon the situation. For example, how we can better manage the fuel account, or whether we can really base the calculations on the actual figures, the actual cost. Now, concerning natural gas or coal, Chairman, I understand that the contracts are not signed annually. The fuel supply contracts are long-term contracts. And so I think the fuel cost should remain rather stable over a long period of time. I understand that you have coal-fired units as well as natural gas-fired units, but I don't think there should be such great fluctuations. So can I ask why we see such fluctuations every year? Time's up. Mr. Tan Ka-Piu. Yes, Chairman. Last time we said that from 2013 to 2018, concerning the net tariffs charged by CLP, there will be an increase of 40%. Members of the public do not understand whether the increase will be caused by the fuel costs or the net tariffs. But then the public are very concerned, and I understand that the CLP hasn't revised such forecasts, and by 2017-2018, the net tariffs of CLP will be higher than those of HEC. So I want to know what the administration can do to try to mitigate such a situation. Now, second, yes, green groups have said that they understand that emissions need to be minimized, and so cleaner fuel need to be used. But then can there be some energy saving measures? Can there be some indicators concerning energy savings? Now, can there be indicators, for example, can we try to say, for example, make sure that there will not be additional demand? And then for CLP, the average tariff rate is lower for business users using more electricity. But then I understand that it's just the other way around for domestic users, so it's really unfair. Yes, the Secretary, please. Yes, I thank Mr. Tang for his 3 questions. I will just make a few important points, and then my colleagues can supplement. I believe members do understand that every year towards the end of the year we have a discussion on tariffs, but then we've just got the 5-year plan, and so we do look at the forecasts. And we have an independent energy consultant to help us play the role of a gatekeeper. Now, in fact, for domestic tariffs in the past 2 years, there was no increase. In fact, there was a reduction. So this term of government wants to encourage people to use less electricity, and for the and then concerning energy savings and also indicators. Now we understand that Hong Kong people do understand that they need to achieve energy savings, and so the increase in net use of electricity has been small. But then, of course, the situation does vary from year to year because of weather changes. And also there are infrastructural projects and developments in the NC and also on Kowloon's side. But I believe we all agree that we share a common objective. We want to lower emissions. We want to try to use less electricity. And then concerning the tariffs, now for business users and domestic users, they are under two separate or two different accounts. So I just want to say that the two tariff structures are different.
Sorry, you have run out of your time, Mr. Tony Chair. As an international city, as a hub in Asia, I think it is important to have a reliable source of electricity supply. I've looked at the development plans for their capital expenditure. I think for both power companies in the coming years, 2014 to 18, we see a reduction. I want to know whether that would affect the reliability of the power supply. And then for the generating units, I think they do have a limited life of service. For Castle Peak A, Castle Peak B, Penny Bay, and Black Point, I think they will have their service being extended by 5 years. And then for the HEC, they were supposed to start L10 project. I want to know how come that for the CLP they are able to extend the useful lives of its generating plants while the HEC is not able to do so. I just think that using gas-fired generation units would have been regarded as more environmentally friendly. I think we know that in Hong Kong we have a very densely populated city. We need to have a reliable supply of power so as to maintain our competitive edge. In our development plan this year, in order to maintain the reliability of our supply, 50% of our capital expenditure is for this purpose. Other than regular maintenance and renovation, in order to maintain a good supply of electricity, we need to carry out some innovative projects. Say, for example, 90% of our generation system has already reached half of its useful lives. So we have to carry out some major overhaul so as to maintain a reliable supply. For other facilities, as to their useful lives, some have a longer one and others have a shorter one. So depending on the duration of the useful lives and depending on the performance, we have to take preventive measures. Say, for example, we have also installed monitoring systems to monitor the conditions. We will gauge their performance and will also stabilize the overhead cables. This is to maintain the reliability of power supply. The member has talked about our generating plants at Castle Peak, Black Point, etc. Well, they are still reliable, and we don't have to invest in a new gas-fired generating unit. This is because we have to look at the trend of the demand for our supply. We have to be careful in our planning. We haven't suggested any new generation units, but I don't think this will impact upon our reliability. Thank you. HEC, any reply? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to thank Mr. Chair for his question. For the HEC in the development plan for the next 5 years, we would like to say that 3 coal-fired power plant units will reach their useful lives and one has to be retired. The other one, L2, we are going to extend the useful life by 5 years, just like what CLP is doing. It has already been equipped with the green initiatives. We have to replace the units from time to time. We have got 5 oil-fired generation units. Generally speaking, we don't use them. Our reserve margin is only 24%. So given such a level of reserve margin, if we have to retire 2 generation units and 1 gas generation unit which has got a history of 30 years and it has been altered many times because in 2020 we have to live up to the tighter emission caps, so we have to double the gas generation capacity. So one of the gas-fired units has to be added to the base load. This generation unit is very old and its emission capacity isn't ideal. So by 2020, we can no longer maintain that generation unit. I think the government has assessed the situation and it has got the agreement of the consultant. With this unit gone, it means that our reserve margin will be down to 11%. It is not secure enough. I think this is a very low level of reserve margin. Moreover, with GT 57 gone. Please keep it precise. Your time has run out. 15% is not at all desirable in relation to the amount of gas-fired generation unit. Well, Mr. Shin Chung Kai, I think the LNG terminal in Shenzhen is being developed. I want to know whether, with that completed, you're going to acquire the gas in the worldwide market. Well, it is said that you have to compare your gas prices with the international trends. How do they compare, higher or lower? 2 questions for the time being. Yes, for the LNG terminal in Shenzhen, when it is completed, it means that we can use vessels to get LNG from all over the world. In other words, there will be a pipeline from the terminal sending the gas to Hong Kong. So in future, when the LNG prices come down, it means that we can make use of the LNG more. Then it means that it will help with our fuel costs. And that's why we are saying that the LNG terminal is being developed. We're exploring the feasibility. As of the current gas prices, the natural gas prices, the prices have always been fluctuating. For the gas prices in Asia, I don't think you can compare them directly with the European prices or the American prices because the prices are set on a regional basis. For the regional prices, how do they compare with that from the West-East pipeline? And when will the terminal be completed? You still have to construct the pipeline. When can you complete the construction of the pipeline leading the gas to your plant? Well, for the second West-East pipeline, the prices are more or less comparable to those in Asia for the connection of the pipeline. Once the LNG terminal in Shenzhen is completed, we have to construct a short pipeline so as to connect it with the second West-East pipeline. In other words, we don't get a new pipeline directly from the LNG terminal in Shenzhen. You haven't answered my question. What about the Shenzhen LNG terminal? When will it be completed? And according to page 5 of your PowerPoint, the only one available in 2015 is a single source. In other words, it is a case of monopoly. When can we expect an additional source of gas? COP. Well, for the terminal, for the LNG terminal, according to the memorandum signed between the mainland and Hong Kong, this will be one of the sources of gas supply. In due course, we will submit the project to the government for approval. The project is still being planned. In due course, 5 years, 3 years, or 10 years later, we haven't got any firm idea about the timing. Certainly, it cannot be able to deliver gas before in 2015. I still have time. Mr. Chairman, just now you talked about the natural gas prices. Now, I think you're trying to imply the prices for 2015 for the West-East pipeline. What about the prices? Do they fluctuate with the international trends or were they fixed in 2008? Well, there are 2 parts to it. For the natural gas prices, they're pegged to the market prices. For the pipeline fees, it is fixed depending on the expenditure for the pipeline. In other words, it means that part of it will be subject to fluctuation. The other part is fixed. Can you elaborate on that? Because I want to know when it will fluctuate, and does it fluctuate in accordance with the market changes? Well, the fluctuation will depend on the fuel cost changes. So it isn't regular like yearly or bi-yearly. So it is pegged to the petroleum prices. Next, Mr. Wong Kwok Hing. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The COP trade unions have taken up a question with the CLP concerning the ex-gratia payment. It is good that this morning there was a negotiation and they have come to an initial agreement. I welcome the agreement. I hope that the CLP will regularly meet with its trade unions so that they can satisfactorily resolve the problem. I have got two questions for the COP and the HEC. First of all, a question for the HEC. Now, for the next 5 years, we can see that for the net tariff, it will come down by 0.7%. But I hope that there will be an explanation. For the 20 hectares of land to the south of the Lama power plant, we were supposed to build a gas-fired generation unit. The government has turned it down, and so it has been left uncompleted. But then between 1999 and 2004, the investment, despite the failure of the project to go ahead, has been included in the account to the tune of $1.8 billion. So $18 billion. So I just want to know whether you should take that out so as to ease the burden on the HEC clients. And then for the CLP, for the net tariff, you are going to increase it by 40%. Now, Mr. Chairman, you are also a businessman. Do we have a crystal ball to anticipate that we will make a profit of the same magnitude? In other words, for the CLP, if the net tariff rate is to be increased so drastically, it means that the customers have to suffer. And then for the same city, how come that for the HEC, there will be a decrease of 0.7% on the part of HEC, but then for the CLP, it will be an increase of 39.3%. I hope the CLP can explain as to whether you are trying to make a huge profit out of it. 45 seconds left. CLP first. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Wong, for your question. I'm sorry, I don't quite understand Mr. Wong's question about the $18 billion money as well as the huge site involved. There is 20 hectares of land. We built an artificial island yielding 22 hectares of land. This is a fact. This is for the development of the gas-fired generation unit. It's called L9. It was commissioned in the year 2006. So if we are talking about the same site, then the figures would tally. But then it has already been commissioned since 2006. We spent $18 billion, and for the artificial island, we have been spending much less than $18 billion. So I don't know where you get the figure of $18 billion from. I want to take this opportunity to talk about the artificial island and its importance to us and to Hong Kong. Without this artificial island, it means that the HEC will still be using coal to fire the generation unit. Now with this unit, it means that we can have 30% of our generating capacity coming from gas-fired generation units. Without the gas-fired generation units, in other words, 100% of the power would come from coal. In other words, for the SO2, it will increase by 91%. For the nitrogen oxides, it will also increase. No, you have spent too much time. Please give the floor to CLP. Yes, I understand your point. You have used up too much time, so I better give the time to CLP. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We've already explained why we need to increase tariffs. That is because we have to shoulder about 90% of the required increase in gas generation in 2015. But then we will try our best to mitigate the increase. Now we are trying to optimize the arrangement with the Yacheng gas supplier. And in the international market, we are trying to increase the procurement of cleaner coal, and we'll also try to increase the efficiency of our coal-fired units. So we hope that we'll be able to mitigate the increases in tariffs. The next speaker is Mr. Lo Wai Kwok. Now, if you think our guests are not answering your question, you can interrupt them anytime. Mr. Lo Wai Kwok. Now, the Yacheng fields are being depleted, and so they have to make use of the west-east supply. They have to try to explore new sources of natural gas, and we also understand that the price of natural gas has been going up. So I think one of the options to be considered should be nuclear energy. I understand that the CLP has come to a new agreement with the Daya Bay plant. So can you in the short term or on a temporary basis increase the supply of power from Daya Bay so as to try to mitigate the tariff increases? I understand that the Daya Bay nuclear plant will have to retire someday. Now, usually the serviceable life of a nuclear power plant is several decades. So I want to know what your plans are. CLP. Yes, thank you, Chairman. And I thank Mr. Low for his question. CLP is facing the challenge of increasing fuel costs, and we of course are doing our best to try to mitigate tariff increases. In fact, we are having discussions with Daya Bay concerning the extra supply of power from Daya Bay. But then this quantity is limited because of constraints at the Daya Bay power plant, also constraints with regard to our transmission and distribution networks. So in the next 5 years, in fact, we've reached an agreement with Daya Bay for the next 5 years. There will be a bit of additional supply from Daya Bay. And we don't need to provide or to launch new infrastructure in order to receive the extra quantity, and there will not be additional risk. And what is the quantity you are talking about? CLP. According to the agreement, it's about 10%. But of course, it also depends on the output of the Daya Bay plant, because the Daya Bay plant input may vary from year to year, but I think we are approximately talking about 10%. Secretary, now concerning the contract with Daya Bay, the Daya Bay plant, it will expire in 2034. As members are aware, the Environment Bureau is conducting a public consultation exercise on the long-term development, including environmental factors, tariff levels, and we should look at the different fuel mix scenarios, the impact on tariffs, and so on and so forth. So there will be a lot of information for the public's discussion. From now till 2034, apart from the 10% you've just mentioned, what is the quantity that we will get from Daya Bay? Sorry, the speaker is not coming through. Now, 70% of the generation capacity of Daya Bay will come to Hong Kong, so that may add up to 80%. Chairman, for the Ya Cheng field, we were told about 2 years ago that it would be depleted soon, but then still we got supply from Ya Cheng in the past 2 years. So I want to know whether there will still be natural gas from Ya Cheng. And then we are told that in fact there are many different sources of natural gas. So have you been talking to the suppliers of some cheaper sources? And also I want to know whether you do have few hedging contracts in order to stabilize or lower fuel costs. Now, in fact, there are 2 fields at Ya Cheng. Y13-1, the first field, is being depleted, and we believe that it will have been depleted by 2016. But then in 2012, we had an agreement with the supplier concerning, this was a 5-year contract concerning supply from Y13-4, a smaller field. So the member may get the impression that gas keeps coming from Ya Cheng, and that is because we now have Y13-4 supplying natural gas to us, while Y13-1 is being depleted. Now, as to whether we need a hedging mechanism, we have to bear in mind the financial risk and serious losses may be incurred. CLP has been operating here for over a century. We must be cautious. But then, but even if you if you do not do hedging, even if you've purchased the fuel, that may not represent the lowest cost. In fact, we do have long-term contracts as well as short-term procurements. So for long-term contracts, they can help us balance and stabilize supply. And then for short-term procurement, we can try to try to seize the opportunities brought about by low prices. Thank you. It is said that in the U.S. there are huge quantities of shale gas underground, and such gas sources will last for a very, very long time. And I believe such sources should also be available in Asia. So apart from natural gas, will you also consider adopting other gas sources like shale gas? CLP. Now in the U.S., they would not be able to export shale gas on a massive scale before 2015. But what about the mainland? We understand that there are such resources in the mainland, but then these resources have not been developed. So we'll have to look at when these resources will be developed in the mainland. As a result, we'll have access to cheap shale gas. Now for the Ya Cheng, at Ya Cheng, the bigger field, it will have been depleted by 2016. But then if the shale gas from the U.S. can be available after 2015, then we should try to secure such supply. CLP. Yes, I'll try to be brief, Chairman. In fact, as Mr. Sin Chong Kai has pointed out, with the commissioning of the LNG terminal in Shenzhen, then if we can secure cheap shale gas from different places in the world, then we'll be able to make use of the shale gas because we'll have the terminal available. Mr. Charles Smock. Now some are of the view that if a progressive tariff block system is applied to the business sector, that will help them cut down on the use of electricity. But I want to tell you that in fact concerning our internet centers, data processing centers, they are doing a lot in terms of energy saving. And if you apply a progressive tariff block system to them, then they will have to increase their fees and charges, and as a result, the power companies will be able to get even greater profits. So I just want to know the thinking of the two power companies, and I want to know whether you really decide to apply a progressive block system to business users. Now, I understand that there is a second substation in Cheung Kwan O, and as a result, there is backup for the data centers in Cheung Kwan O. I understand that there are data centers in other districts, for example, Shek Mun in Sha Tin. And also, we now in Wong Chuk Hang and in Aberdeen have some new data centers. I want to know whether the two power companies have certain criteria to go by in deciding where substations will be built so that data centers can be provided in those areas. Yes, I thank Mr. Mock for his questions. I want to say that concerning our tariff structure, it's in fact, we are fair, and in fact, we also are greatly transparent. Some have said that a progressive tariff block system should be applied to non-domestic users. In fact, we've carried out a questionnaire survey, and I understand that there is no consensus in the community on this issue. In fact, those who do business understand the importance of energy savings. So I believe members will not agree that the business users will not try to achieve energy savings because a progressive system is not adopted for their tariffs. And then we also have other users like hospitals, schools, and if we adopt a progressive system, then the cost will be increased for these operations. I think it's important that we provide energy savings audits for our clients. We should advise them on energy savings measures so that they can try to achieve energy savings in their day-to-day operations. We will continue to communicate with stakeholders, and our clients. Will also monitor best practices internationally on energy savings, and will also consider the local situation in deciding on deciding on our system. The second question has not been answered. I've already reminded members to interrupt our guests if they think their guests are not answering the questions. Ms. Wong Ting Kwong, it's your turn, Mr. Wong. Yes, Chairman. We hope that fuel costs can be reduced so that tariff increases can be mitigated. And concerning CLP joining hands with the Nanfang and to purchase shares in the Castle Peak Power Plant, and also we've seen new developments in the HEC. Some are of the view that if we have mainland enterprises entering the local power supply market, that will help promote reforms in the local power supply market, and as a result, the Hong Kong community will stand to benefit. So I want to know the position of the government and the two power companies in this regard. All right, the administration. Right, yes, perhaps I'll just give a brief reply. Now, the commercial. Now, of course, the government is concerned about the energy policy. We also take into account safety, efficiency, and also the safety aspect.
We have the fuel mix review, and we are going to have different options for the purpose of consultation. We would like to put forward a number of different scenarios so that we can strike a balance between the prices as well as environmental protection. Next, HEC. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Wong, for his question. For the HEC, for our so-called cooperation with the national power grid, well, in fact, it isn't really a cooperation. It is rather that we have separated a part from our mother company, and then an investment bank bought up some of the shares, and it has become a sort of cornerstone or anchor investor. So I don't think it is a matter of cooperation in the form perceived by Mr. Wong. So I cannot say more than that. The National Power Grid is but one of our investors. Well, CLP has become a partner of the China Southern Power Grid Company. We hope that there will be synergies. Say, for example, if we want to have interconnection across the boundary, then with this partnership it will be easier. Well, of course, everybody knows that integration is the trend for the future. Now, for our fuel mix, if it is to be decided in such a way that we need to have more cooperation with the mainland, then our partnership will facilitate. Currently, we already have connection with the power grid in Guangdong. Technically speaking, we can get more from them. But then we're talking about new infrastructure. We will take 8 to 10 years time to complete. And then in the future, the tariff rates may not come down. This is because currently the mainland tariff rates are being subsidized by the national government, and with the appreciation of renminbi, it is difficult to tell. And then in Shenzhen, the business tariff rates are higher than those in Hong Kong. Mr. Wong Ting Kwong, well, so it means that there isn't a future for cross-boundary interconnection of the power grids. Well, as I have said, technically speaking, it is feasible. We still have to look at the economic feasibility before we will go ahead. And then it will take 8 to 10 years time before we can complete the interconnection. It takes time to plan for it. Thank you. Just now, Mr. Charles Mok and Mr. Tan Ka-piu have talked about the regressive or progressive tariff structures. Just now, Ms. Chong has already given an explanation. I understand that many people don't quite get it right, thinking that the non-domestic clients stand to gain. Well, they have a demand charge, and then they will pay in accordance with the usage. So there are two parts to it. There is no way that we can compare the business tariff with the domestic tariff. I don't think it's the first time I say that a business client will always be using excessive power. Well, in fact, like the shopping mall that my company manages, in fact, we can make use of a lot of energy-saving initiatives to overcome an increase in the size of our floor space, and we haven't resulted in using more power. In 2010, in the month of September, we have got a consultation document as our action plan to respond to the climate change. And then in 2020, our carbon intensity should come down by 50 to 60% when compared with the base year of 2005. And then in 2020, the fuel mix should be such that 50% from nuclear, 40% from gas, and then less than 10% from coal. But then since the Japan's accident concerning the nuclear power plant, I think we are trying to enhance the ratio to be taken up by coal. So my question is, for the future fuel mix, if we are to cut down on the percentage to be taken up by nuclear, are you going to go easy on the carbon intensity reduction? And what is the impact on tariff changes? I understand that at earlier meetings there were questions. There were people who said that they were strongly against having a greater share of the fuel mix to be taken up by nuclear. Secretary, the two power companies can also supplement. Yes, as a result of the Fukushima nuclear incident, maybe we should think afresh in relation to the fuel mix review. As I have said, we will complete the fuel mix review and will conduct a consultation exercise. This is exactly to respond to what the member has said. Earlier on, we have set out a carbon reduction target. In the light of latest developments, we would like to look at the pricing, we would like to look at the questions of reliability and safety. So we are preparing a paper in the final stage, and very soon we will make an announcement and we will start the consultation exercise. So please bear with us. Nuclear energy, maybe CLP can give an answer. Now, we use natural gas, coal, and nuclear for power generation. I think all along has been proved to be effective and efficient. Now, for the fuel mix review, I think it has to be transparent, and we should be told about the impacts so that the public have full information so that they can come up with a wise and informed choice. Irrespective of the mix to be decided on, I think it has to be kept flexible so that we can have a diversified portfolio to respond to market changes, and then we can optimize the cost of power generation. Thank you. Mr. Yu. Mr. Chairman, by having a reliable power supply, we can enhance the quality of life. So the government must take the question of tariffs seriously. According to the scheme of control agreements, of course, the larger the size of the investment, the larger the size of the profits to be permitted. So I want to know if the administration has got any mechanism to have an objective assessment of the investment plan so that the yearly tariff changes are reasonable. And in the course of assessment, I want to know whether there is room for improvement so as to prevent abuse of the SCA by the two companies. Thirdly, when it is found that some of the investments proposed are to be unreasonable, which would then result in increases in tariffs, I want to know if the government can penalize them so as to prevent them from doing that again. There are three questions. I think my colleagues can give you the details. Well, we play the role of gatekeeping, and we have also got a third party, an independent consultant, vetting the figures. So I think the purpose can be met. My colleague can supplement. Last year, Mr. Chairman, we had the 5-year development plan review. An independent consultant was engaged to look at the capital expenditure to be incurred by the two companies. Now, on the 10th of December, we came to the panel, and in the paper submitted to you, you can tell that in fact we did delete some of the capital expenditure items proposed by the two companies. Our consultant has examined their proposals, and we have found them to be premature and excessive in the light of the demand that we have assessed. Well, if we have given approval to them, well, as a result of the capital expenditure, there will be depreciation and there will be an impact on the tariff structure. So all along we have been very careful. We have this mechanism that is, if they want to invest in generation units, and if it is found to be unjustified or if it is a matter of excessive capacity, we have a mechanism to say that some of the investment items can be deleted from the basis for the calculation of permitted rate of return. Mr. Yu, now you would only delete it. So you're simply saying that it is unreasonable and so the items are to be deleted. But do you have a penalty system? So I would suggest that you have to punish them, because we're talking about a mega investment item. They should have find ways to justify it. So there must be a penalty system so as to prevent the two companies from abusing the system. Secretary, I think we all understand that for the two power companies, they have an SCA each with the government. We have to honor the terms and conditions of the agreement. Of course, we have to think about the future, and in a few years' time, the agreements will expire, and we want to know how the mechanism can be improved. All along, we have heard different voices and opinions, and so we will try to take on board members' suggestions. Next, Mr. Fernando Zheng. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For this year, for our tariff adjustments, to quite a large extent, it is because we have to increase the balance of the tariff stabilization fund. Now, the two companies are doing a business. So if their costs come down, if they sell more electricity, that means that they're doing a good job, and then they exceed their permitted return of 9.99%. And so any excess will go to the tariff stabilization fund. In the future, if their business isn't so good, then it means that if they're allowed to maximize their rate of return, if they can't do that, then money can come from the TSF, so that they can make up the shortfall, and then we don't have to increase the tariff. Now, this is not being implemented. Now, the government allows them to maximize the profits up to 9.99%. Now, money will go to the TSF. Their business risk will be shifted to the customers. In other words, they are allowed to increase their tariffs in advance. In the future, if they perform poorly, then money can go from the TSF to their profits. In other words, the tariff stabilization fund is a profit guaranteed fund instead. For the HEC, it is supposed not to increase the tariff, but in fact, there is an increase of 7.1%. 90% of the increase will go to the TSF. The net tariff doesn't have to go up because of the offsetting effect of the fuel cost charge, but then the TSF balance will continue to grow. Now, for the CLP, they are increasing the basic tariff by 4.2 cents. A lot of it will be related to the TSF. So my question for the government is, how come that you allow the two companies to increase the tariffs, and they have anticipated an ever-growing of the balance of the TSF? How come that you allow them to increase the tariffs so that the excess can go to the TSF? Secretary, I think our colleagues can supplement. Basically, I analyzed, my analysis yield a different outcome from Mr. Fernando Zheng's. Mr. Chairman, we allow the two companies to have a positive balance in their TSF. This isn't something new. It has been there has been such an arrangement for a long time. And then usually the balance will be maintained between the range of 100 to 300 billion dollars. In 2014, there will be 200 to 300 billion dollars in the stabilization fund. But then in 2009 and 2012, they tried to increase the tariffs so as to channel money to the TSF, but then they were wrong in the anticipation. And we do have the moral responsibility to make sure that the TSF will have a positive balance.
The balance can be zero. If the balance is zero, and if the two power companies do not do their business well, then there will not be the protection. Let them finish. Now, this is not a new arrangement. And also members need to understand that concerning the TSF, and is to mitigate tariff increases, and in some cases the money should be used to lower tariffs. And last year 2013, now because at the end of 2012 there was a substantial balance in the TSF of both power companies, and so the increase in the tariff increases in 2013 were not so big. So this fund can help to stabilize tariffs. And then concerning the fuel account balance, it is also important in helping to stabilize tariffs. If members are of the view that there shouldn't be a balance in a TSF, then the two power companies may tell you that there should not be a balance in the FCA, and as a result, fuel costs fluctuate, so will other factors, and so will tariff rates. But then do we want stable tariff rates, or do we want to base our calculations on the different factors in each year? Mr. Ho Chun-yin. Now, the public do not like tariff increases or fare increases, and the public are of course unhappy because there will be tariff increases. But then we have a lot of members here who are in the business sector. In fact they know that people do face a lot of pressure concerning their operating costs. So I want to know how the emission caps are set. Now, because the emission caps for 2015 are much higher than the emission caps for 2013 and 2014. So have you considered the cost implications? Have you considered the fuel mix of the two power companies? Or is it that you just throw the figures, throw the emission caps at the power companies and let them iron out the suitable arrangements? And then we are told that CLP and its customers have to shoulder about 90% of the required increases in gas generation in 2015. Why is it that CLP and its customers have shouldered 90% while the other party only 10%? The Secretary. Yes, thank you, Mr. Ho. I'll be brief and I'll leave some time for the CLP. Now, I know members of the public are very concerned about air quality and the impact of air quality on health. And so at that time, we looked at the main sources of air pollution, and power supply was one of the main sources. And that was why action was taken to meet the rising expectations of the public. Of course, we have to pay a price. What's important is that we try to strike the right balance. So we have the new emission caps, and have asked the power companies to increase the operational efficiency and to change their fuel mix. All right, CLP? Yes, thank you. Yes, I thank Mr. Ho for the question. Concerning the 2015 emission caps, now, we have to rely on the best practical means to reduce emissions. And one component is to maximize the use of existing gas-fired generation units. We started early concerning the use of gas to generate electricity, and so our gas generation capacity accounts for 80% of the total capacity in Hong Kong. So the government wants us to maximize the use of existing gas-fired generation units. And so we need to show that about 90% of the required increase in gas generation in 2015. But then for 2013 and 2014, the emission caps were much more lenient than the emission caps for 2015. So how much more do you have to invest to meet the emission caps for 2015, which are much more stringent? From 2013 to 2014 to 2015, I think the main difference is the increased use in gas. The generations are already there, but then we try to increase or enhance the use of these gas-fired generation units. So costs go up because of increased fuel costs. I thank you very much. All members have already asked their questions, so I thank the Secretary and the power companies once again for coming. Thank you very much. So we'll move on to the second item on the agenda. Can the clerk please take down the names of members who wish to ask questions? Point of order. Chairman, can I raise a point of order at a meeting of the panel? Please raise your question. What is the panel's position on anonymous complaints? Is it that we need to deal with whatever complaints we receive, even though they may be anonymous? The clerk, please. So what is our practice? In fact, in the past 10 years, my impression was that we would not deal with anonymous complaints. So why is it that today we are dealing with an anonymous complaint? Does it mean that in future we'll have to deal with all anonymous complaints? Mr. Wong Ting Kwong, you were present at the meeting on the 6th of or the 10th of December. Why was it that you did not raise any objection to the discussion of this matter? In fact, I did raise this point, Chairman. I asked why an anonymous complaint would be dealt with, and the Chairman said that he would first of all collect some information. Now, in fact, I agree with Mr. Wong. So is that in future we have to deal with anonymous complaints? Last time, our decision was that we would wait for the administration's reply, and then members would make a decision. Now, have we received any objection from members that the matter should not be discussed? But can our discussion today also cover this area, Chairman? Yes, of course. Now as we have people from the administration and from the AA here. I think to be fair, we should let them speak. I'll give each of them 5 minutes, and then we can decide whether we need to discuss and deal with this matter. But Chairman, a member would like to speak. No, Chairman. No, I think we should have a discussion among ourselves first. Why should we have the secretary speaking first? Now, as the administration has sent somebody here, I think we should, to be fair, give him a chance to speak. Chairman, last time, you didn't say that a meeting would be convened to discuss the matter, and so I think we should have a discussion within the panel as to this matter should be discussed by the panel. So that was your decision last time, Chairman. So no, you're going back on your promise. No, I didn't give such a promise. But Yu Si Wing has already said that he made the point last time, and he remembered what you said very clearly. Now, so why is it that no member has called me or has written to me in the past month telling me that the matter should not be discussed at this meeting? Now, Chairman, but because this matter has been on the agenda for a long time, now because I'm new to this council and I don't know the practice. Now, I have no objection to continuing with the discussion, but at that meeting, I got the impression that we would receive the information first, and I thought we would have a discussion among ourselves as to whether we would be dealing with the matter. Now, any member can raise an objection. We haven't received any objection. That's why the clerk has included this item on the agenda. All right, sorry. So, who would like to speak on this issue? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, Sin Chung Kai, Charles Mock, Dennis Kwok, Chen Kam Lam, and Frankie Yik. Sin Chung Kai. In fact, I raised the item for discussion, Chairman. Now, an anonymous letter was received. And I don't think we must deal with anonymous complaints, or we must not deal with anonymous complaints. All right, each member will have 2 minutes. Mr. Wong Ting Kwong, we're now dealing with the point of order, and each member will have 2 minutes. All right, Sin Chung Kai. This item was raised by me. Now we're now discussing whether we should be dealing with this item, and I don't think we should say we must or we must not deal with an anonymous complaint. It deals with the nature of the matter. We need to look at the allegations, the arguments for or against such allegations. Chairman, last time you said that you would wait for the information from the administration, and then we would decide whether there would be a discussion. And we've received the papers, and you can see that in fact there are objective facts. So something happened, and there was an internal audit within the AA. So simply put, the allegations are not totally unfounded. The allegations are not fabricated. So I think whether the complaint is anonymous or not is not the most important thing. What's important is whether the allegations are based on objective facts. Now, I'm not saying now whether the AA has acted rightly or wrongly. I think, Chairman, I support what you have done. So you've read the administration's paper. You think the matter should be discussed. I support your decision, Mr. Charles Mock. I think this incident has been widely reported in the media, and so we understand that there is a lot of public concern, and so I support your decision, Chairman, to include this item on the agenda. And as you pointed out, Chairman, in fact, members could have raised objections earlier, and I don't think we should be barred from discussing this matter simply because the complaint is anonymous. Now, the administration is here, the AA is here, so give them a chance to tell us more about the matter. Now, now the clerk has told me that our rules of procedure do not say that we must or must not deal with an anonymous complaint. It's for members to decide. Mr. Dennis Kwok.
Well, I don't think it is a matter of dealing with an anonymous letter. Well, in fact, we have got an official document for this agenda. I think from this paper, we can see that there are many management problems of the AA. In particular, paragraph 9, even the AA itself admits that there have been serious problems in the course of tendering. What's the nature of the problems? How are they going to be addressed? Are the solutions proper? I think also such questions should be directed at the Bureau. I think we need to be practical. We should go through the paper. The officials are here. We have the paper before us. We have got some questions ready to ask the administration. Now, I am moving a motion, and I think this is one of the approaches to deal with the matter. That is, I would like to ask the Audit Commission to carry out a value for money audit in relation to the tendering exercises of the retail shops at the Hong Kong airport. I hope that the motion can be dealt with at today's meeting. That will be dealt with later on. Let's continue with the discussion. Jeffy, did you raise your hand? No? Next, Mr. Yik, and then Mr. Yu. Frankie. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The clerk has already explained that we haven't got a rule to say how we should deal with the anonymous letters. For us in the transport sector, it is our practice not to handle any anonymous letters. Even for the Members' Interest Committee, when we have an anonymous complaint against members, we don't deal with them. But I agree with you, since it is on the agenda, we've got something to discuss. Let's have a discussion first. Mr. Yu Si-wing. Mr. Chairman, for anonymous letters, we have them out of context. If we start to process them, then there will be no end to it. There will be one after another. And then we may have to deal with private issues, and you will be wasting the time of the Legislative Council. I think on one occasion, the ombudsman came. I asked him whether he would handle anonymous letters. He said that he would read them, but he would not handle them because it would be difficult to handle anonymous letters. If we are to start a precedent, there will be no end to it. In the past, we have received anonymous letters saying that there have been unfairness at certain corporations. So does it mean that every time we get an anonymous letter, we should start to discuss each and every one of them? I don't think so. Mr. Jeffrey Lam, I have to declare that I'm on the board of the airport authority. My position doesn't stem from my capacity as the director of the board of the AA. But then I would like to deal with the practice of the LegCo when we come across anonymous letters. Panels do not handle documents with the identity not known. So I think we should go back to this first step. This is an anonymous letter. Yes, indeed, we have included in the agenda. We haven't gone through the first step, the second step, and yet we've jumped to the third step. I think last time you did say that we should take a look of it first before we decide on the way forward. So I would suggest that we should go back to step 2 in the process. I don't think we should handle any anonymous letters in accordance with our convention. Otherwise, as Mr. Yu has said, there will be a second one, a third one, a fourth one, and then we have to deal with all of them. We will only be starting a bad precedent, and then it will make it very difficult for us. And then we may have to use the same approach when there are more anonymous letters coming in, and it will only add to our workload. Mr. Chen Kam Lam, let me first of all declare that I'm also a member of the board of the AA. For the challenge or the query made by Mr. Wang Ting-Kwong, I think there is a certain point in it. Indeed, it was an anonymous complaint because the letter was supposed to have been written by a group of middle management officers of the AA. Some of the accusations are vague. This is one of the points. Secondly, is that on the 8th of January, Mr. Ronnie Tong, the full council, asked a question, and the AA itself carried out an internal investigation regarding this matter. So as far as the case is concerned, I don't think the panel of the LegCo has to hold a meeting to look into the matter. I think we should focus more on the policy issues so that we have a dialogue with the administration. Now, if we say that we are concerned about the internal governance of statutory corporations, I would say that unless they are involved in major problems, I don't think we should intervene. Moreover, this matter has already been discussed internally and they have also reached a conclusion. So I don't think it is necessary for us to have a discussion here or direct any questions at the Transport and Housing Bureau, because the Bureau would probably repeat what has already been said in the reply. Moreover, we can see that Mr. Dennis Kwok is suggesting that the Audit Commission should be looking into the matter. In other words, we are sort of escalating the scale, but it all started with an anonymous letter, but there will be many similar anonymous letters. Fernando Zhang, it seems that we have lost our focus. The airport authority is a statutory corporation managing public resources. In the tendering process, they had encountered certain problems, and it was extensively reported in the media. Whether we base our discussion on an anonymous letter or whether it is because of the extensive media attention, I would say that it is a matter of public interest and has caused the public concern. We legislators are supposed to play a monitoring role. We have to be the gatekeeper. Now, someone suggests that we have the responsibility to look into the matter. I think it is reasonable and legitimate. Chair, you have already included this item in the agenda. The government has provided a paper in which it says that the AA's internal investigation has found that the management has inadequacies in the handling of the matter, and it should be criticized. And then internal governance should be enhanced, and there should be a better culture of compliance. It is very clear that something has gone wrong. Does it mean that we shouldn't talk about the mistakes? Now we have got the paper. We have it included on the agenda. We have officials in attendance. How come that we should say that it is a point of order and it should not be discussed? Is it a way to hide the mistake? I would suggest that it should be exposed in sunlight and it should be discussed. Mr. Christopher Chung. I'm not related to the AA at all. I just want to say that for the listing committee of the Hong Kong Exchange, we do not entertain anonymous letters. For the listed companies, of course, a lot of public interest and the interests of the investors are involved. When we receive anonymous letters, we read them and then we just put them aside. There are just too many for us to cope with. If we start to handle each and every anonymous letter, then the listing committee must spend 10 times more of their time to deal with them. So I just want to share my experience of the listing committee of the Hong Kong Exchange with you. Some members would like to speak for the second time, 1 minute each. Just now, I have confirmed with our clerk. Members, you are legislators, and you are also familiar with the rules of procedures because you are either a chair or the deputy chair of our various panels. The clerk has once again said that the rules of procedure are silent on whether an anonymous letter can or cannot be dealt with. Now, any member can move a motion to stop the discussion anytime during a panel meeting. You don't have to give a reason, so just want to remind you of this. Dennis Kwok, Wong Ting Kwong, and Charles Mok, 1 minute each. Dennis Kwok. Well, we aren't just talking about one single anonymous letter. If the allegations in the anonymous letter are unjustified at all, then they don't have to care about it. They don't have to write a paper. But on the contrary, a document has been written, and it is said that they take the matter seriously in relation to the problem identified. So how come that the logical is to say that we shouldn't look into it? According to the logic of Mr. Chen Kam Lam, then we should stay away from a whole host of issues. Now, the AA is here, the officials are here. For the Civic Party, we haven't got anyone on the board of the AA, so we don't know what is meant by taking the matter seriously. We are very interested. I think the public are also very interested. Charles Mok. I would like to ask you and the clerk that if we have it included in the agenda and yet we cannot discuss it, does it mean that the item will be banned forever? I want to know whether I, as a member, can put in a letter and say that it is not related to that anonymous letter, but I want to discuss this issue. Would I be allowed to do so? If we are to suspend the discussion today, then it means that for us to discharge our duties, I think our rights and responsibilities will be much affected. Let me answer your question. As the chair, anything to be included in the agenda can only be included with your agreement. So if you want to raise another item, then I will put it to the vote by panel members. So you are entirely free to suggest any items. Let's see if you have got the support of other members. Mr. Wong Ting Kwong, I agree with Fernando Cheung. Have it examined in the sunlight. I think not just the officials coming here. I think the complainants should also be transparent. If they're willing to come forward, then I'll be happy to have a meeting to have the matter discussed. You can't say that someone can hide in darkness and air allegations while the counterparty has to be exposed in full broad daylight to be the targets of accusations. So if we want it to be transparent, then we have to make sure that both parties are equally transparent. Mr. Yu, Mr. Chairman, I think now we are on the point of order. Now, on what basis are we suggesting that we need to have a discussion? I think it was based on an anonymous letter. Now, just now, some members referred to the information from the AA, but then that happened later. But then, first of all, you included this item because of the anonymous letter. I think we have to comment on whether it is legitimate and reasonable to do so. I don't think this is the time to refer to the AA's document or other letters from the AA. So I think it's best if we suspend the discussion today. If members would like to raise other items, they can do so later on.
All right, any other comments, please? Can AA directors cast their votes? It's for them to decide. Mr. Wong Ting Kwong, you were the first to raise your hand. Now, according to the clerk, you can move a motion to stop the discussion of an item. Yes, Chairman, I want to move a motion to discontinue the discussion on this matter. All right? Do we have a seconder, please? Chairman, now I hope that Chairman, you also deal with my motion. Yes, I will. In fact, I have reduced my motion to writing. So concerning Mr. Wong's motion, there's no need to, I think, have him writing it down. Are those in favor, please raise their hands. You know, those supporting my motion. Yes, your motion. Those who support Mr. Wong Ting Kwong's motion. 8. Those against? 4. So Mr. Wong Ting Kwong's motion is carried. And so we'll not have to deal with this matter for the time being. Right? And then Mr. Kwok's motion. If they want to listen to our discussion, they can stay. So Mr. Kwok, your motion, this panel requests the Director of Audit to carry out a value for money study on the Icon Shop's tender by the Airport Authority. Do you want to introduce your motion to members? Chairman, in fact, we can see in para 9 that there are serious problems, and the AA board is also very concerned. And it is said that there was no transfer of interest, or there was no evidence of any transfer of interest. But what was the evidence that the board saw? And then it was said that some procedures would have to be strengthened. What procedures are these? In fact, I would like to have answers to these questions, Chairman. But then members have already decided that we can't discuss this matter. So in other words, as this motion is passed, LegCo is not allowed to really do its work. And so I think I'll have to ask the Director of Audit to look at what has gone wrong, Chairman. So this is why I am moving this motion. The clerk has reminded me that a seconder is required for your motion. I want to give some advice here. Now, so members have passed a motion to discontinue the discussion, and so members need to consider whether it's appropriate to deal with a motion now. But then yes, of course, we will not have a discussion. But then Mr. Kwok is asking the Director of Audit to follow up. So a member is moving a motion requesting the Director of Audit to carry out a study. So he is not asking the LegCo to carry out a study. Now, Andy, of course, the panel can decide what course of action is appropriate. But then this agenda item has been discontinued, so this item will not be discussed by the panel. And Mr. Dennis Kwok is now giving a suggestion, and I think perhaps this suggestion should be dealt with on another occasion. Let's deal with that, and maybe it will be voted against. Or voted down rather. Mr. Wong Ting Kwong. Yeah, Chairman. Now if Mr. Dennis Kwok move this motion or raises this matter on another occasion under another agenda item, that's a separate issue. But because today we have decided that we will not continue with a discussion on the basis of an anonymous complaint. Now, because the motion says nothing about anonymous complaints, the motion merely talks about the Director of Audit and also AA tendering. But then this whole discussion item arises or originates from an anonymous complaint. Mr. Chen Kam Lam, I think we have to get the procedures right. So Mr. Wong Ting Kwong has already moved a motion to discontinue the discussion, and the motion has been carried. And so if there is no AOB, we should adjourn the meeting. And so Mr. Dennis Kwok's motion shouldn't be dealt with at this juncture because this item has already been discontinued. So we do not need to really deal with this motion. Yes, I think Andy's advice is sound. So Mr. Kwok, you can put in this motion on another occasion. Now, because you moved this motion later than Mr. Wong Ting Kwong did, no. Before we started the discussion on this item, I had already tabled the motion. But then I raised a point of order. Yes, I agree with Mr. Wong. A point of order comes first. So, Mr. Dennis Kwok, you can move this motion again next time. So, you can move this item, this motion again next time, asking the Director of Audit to carry out a value for money audit. Thank you for coming. You've given us the papers, but you can't give replies. So let members of the public decide what they want, what follow-up action they want to take. So we can adjourn the meeting now. No AOB, then the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.